When he had trouble sleeping, Chagum often found himself counting hekimums. Lying down on his large and incredibly comfortable futon, he initially found it hard to sleep. It was a rather eventful sort of day, after all. Learning his duties as the crown prince, speaking with Shuga and the hunters, and also playing with his younger sisters. Even if he did feel more restrained than before, he understood the duties he had to keep. So instead of tossing and turning, he started to count. 1 hekimum, 2 hekimums, 3 hekimums, 4, and continued to mutter under his breath as if in a trance. Their soft white bounciness, the chewiness of eating them, their subtle sweetness. Ah, he missed eating them. Maybe he could ask Jin to bring him some next time he was in the city. Once he got to over several hundreds or so, his eyelids grew heavy and he closed his eyes, dead to the world until tomorrow morning. The guards posted outside his door chuckled. It looks like Prince Chagum really misses hekimums. Well, Toya grinned. I can solve that problem. Before Shuga could say anything else, the young shopkeeper began shoveling hekimums into bags. He tied them shut and weighed them, then shook his head. 3 pounds is definitely not enough. Hold on and I'll get more. Shuga started to tell him it was fine, but Toya had already left. He certainly has initiative, Mon said dryly. Indeed, sighed Shuga. How long will it be before your men return with the Yaku girl, the Songolese princess, and that Rasha-ro pirate? Mon shrugged. Days, months, who knows? Well, let's collect Saya quickly and return to the palace at once. Master Shuga, said Mon, I'm pretty certain she isn't the one. That's true, Shuga conceded, but we have to pursue all avenues, or we won't be completely sure. Oh, it was so coherent for the first part. Are you certain that you want to pursue all avenues? Yoon asked. Doesn't that seem excessive? The Mikado will notice. He hasn't yet, Shuga said, and the Crown Prince is still officially a child for a little while longer. Perhaps he wishes to see his old Yaku friend again because he is nostalgic about his time outside the palace walls. Even more reason for the Mikado to find out, Yoon muttered. I think we might consider asking the second queen, Shuga said speculatively. She and Crown Prince Chagum had always been very close. It was possible the second queen would know the identity of Crown Prince Chagum's mysterious love. Shuga arrived at her door late that night. He bowed after the servants let him inside. Your Highness, he said, prostrating himself on the floor. Master Shuga, said the queen by way of acknowledgment, your message said you wished to talk about my son. Yes, your Highness, I have discovered that the Crown Prince is in love. Yes, said the queen with a sigh. He hasn't been himself since it happened. But, my lady, he won't tell me the identity of the person he loves, only that it is a woman and that he doesn't believe it would work between them. Oh! The queen grinned. And here I thought he was in love with you. Shuga turned bright red. Me, your Highness? Good heavens, no. Right now our best theories are that it's either Princess Saruna of Songal or a Yaku girl, Nimka, the granddaughter of the chief of Tomi village. I dispatched men to bring them both here to the palace to see them. Or to see him. I can't stand to see him so unhappy. Huh, said the queen. Could have sworn it was you. Well, if your men can get them here, then I guess we'll find out pretty quickly who it is he's been pining for. How long do you think it will be? Shuga shrugged. No way of knowing. Gakkai, hiding outside the window, eavesdropping, rubbed his hands together with a vicious smile. Oh, don't worry, Shuga, my boy, he muttered to himself. I'm going to make sure they never get here at all. If he hadn't been eavesdropping, he'd have broken into an evil laugh. If this didn't get Shuga kicked out of the palace, nothing would. Gakkai was stunned by what he'd heard. Crown Prince Chagum in love? Impossible! He'd never left the palace. If he was in love with someone, it had to be someone here. The kitchen servant? The one who could make hekimums? But no, Crown Prince Chagum loved hekimums, but anyone could make them with the right machine and ingredients. Gakkai considered buying Crown Prince Chagum a hekimum machine to get in his good graces. But that was a secondary consideration. The second queen seemed to think that Crown Prince Chagum was in love with someone inside the palace as well. Was it Shuga? Even if it wasn't Shuga, Gakkai saw advantage for himself in spreading the rumor. The Crown Prince and a Star Reader would have vastly different statuses. If Mikado learned of it, Shuga would be expelled from the Imperial Palace on the spot. Amazing that we all kind of went down the same path without even knowing it. Gakkai saw Shuga leaving the palace last night. Silently he had followed him to know what he was planning. He remembered very well how Shuga reacted when he had put some grape jelly in his socks. Gakkai could do the same. If Gakkai could do the same thing with the rumor, Shuga's possible expulsion would be a success. Chagum and Gakkai could rule New Yogo de facto as the future Mikado with no fear of being set aside by Chagum's presence as a threat. After sneaking about, Gakkai saw Shuga entering into a small shop in Lower Ogi. Shortly after, a short and ugly old woman showed herself, entering at her turn in the shop. The image of the wine in his mind came naturally. He knew exactly which rumor he could craft. So evil! The following day, Shuga woke up and went to see Chagum. When he entered the room, Shuga was surprised to see the second prince frowning at the window. Is everything all right, your majesty? He said. I heard a rumor about an old Yaku shaman who can charm young men and change them into animals if they disobey her. Shuga's heart stopped beating. How Chagum could have known about Torogai and him meeting secretly! His reputation was near to being soiled, and despite all of his will, Shuga couldn't help but think about the main culprit of this rumor. He needed to act before Gakkai. It was a question of time. Dun dun da! He knew what he had to do first. He went directly to the holy sage. Shuga, said Hibitonin, scowling, what are you doing here? There seem to be a lot of nasty rumors about you floating around these days. You'd do well not to show your face in public. This isn't in public, said Shuga, frowning. We're in your secret chambers. The only people here are those invisibles, and they've got the magic veils down. We're basically as not in public as we could get. Whatever, said the holy sage. What do you want? Master, said Shuga, I wish to quash these nasty rumors. First of all, while it is true that His Highness the Crown Prince is in love, I can assure you that I am not the object of his affections. I know that, said the holy sage. It's obviously that Yaku girl, Nina or Nima or whatever. Nimka. Yeah, her. Or maybe the Songhalese princess. You said they got quite close while you were attending the coronation. Yes, said Shuga, remembering how Chagum had looked at Princess Suruna. Come to think of it, the boy had looked at Nimka the same way. Maybe if we allowed him to be exposed to more girls his age, he wouldn't immediately fall for the only two he met. The young Star Reader mused, frowning to himself. Probably completely isolating the future Mikado isn't a great way to socialize him. Go figure. And what else? Get on with it. Well, I don't know what other rumors you've heard, but I assure you they're all lies and slander. Gakkai is trying to drag my name through the mud so that he can be the next holy sage instead. So you haven't been secretly hooking up with that nasty old magic weaver Toro guy? Oh, well, define hooking up. I mean, no, of course not. Shuga blushed from head to toe. Why do people keep assuming that I'm so promiscuous? Anyways, Shuga's main interests were scholarly research and magic weaving. He'd never had time for relationships. It was true that he spent more time with Crown Prince Chagum than most people, but he was his teacher. That was to be expected. And Torogai was teaching him magic weaving in exchange for his own knowledge. Shuga had to put a stop to these rumors. What should I do? Confront Gakkai directly? Call in the hunters? Any solution the hunters chose for the Gakkai problem would likely be too permanent for Shuga's liking, so he decided to confront Gakkai about the rumors himself first, though he was fairly sure Gakkai wouldn't agree to quash them. Gakkai was in the Star Palace library. Hey you, said Hyoku, approaching him. Gakkai looked up sharply, saw the hunter, and frowned disdainfully. What do you want, you surly little troll? Strong words from a nobody to a noble. I'm from nobility, thank you very much, Gakkai snapped, puffing himself up with indignance. Yoku rolled his eyes, barely. Look, pal, I'm here to give you a little warning, and you better listen. Or what? Gakkai sneered. Or you'll wake up one morning and your entire room will be covered in day-old fish guts, and your shoes will be full of itching powder, and there will be a bucket of used dishwater perched over your door. You wouldn't. You think so? You're not very smart, are you? Gakkai's eyes narrowed. Shuga sent you. He did not. But the person who did send me would like you to stop spreading slanderous lies. Shuga's reputation isn't the only one that stands to be damaged. Gakkai scowled. I haven't spread any lies. If Shuga doesn't like the truth, he can suck it. Hyoku shrugged. Your funeral. Shuga saw Hyoku coming out of the Star Palace library and stopped dead in his tracks. You? Here? Shuga asked. Is there something wrong? No duh, Hyoku said, cracking his knuckles. A little bird told me that some dangerous rumors are going around. His gaze drifted toward Gakkai's door. So, I decided to handle it. Gakkai's not dead, is he? I only scared him a little. But if Gakkai keeps it up, well, I know 7 guys who can arrange all kinds of accidents, Hyoku said.